In the previous part, we stylized this in a very simple way. We made the boundaries gray and we changed the polygons of the provinces and states to a brownish color. The next thing I want to show you is how you create a print layout. We'd like to label these provinces, and we're gonna use the abbreviations of the provinces. So let me show you really quick. Like you can, when you're deciding of what to label, your labels oftentimes will come from, not always, but come from the geographic file that you're working with. And in this instance, somewhere here is a file field name called abbreviation. And I'm actually going to end up using the postal just because it's smaller, but you could probably get away with using abbreviation as well. But we're going to use postal. But before you do any lettering, now this isn't, you don't always have to do this, but my recommendation is to begin to create your layout first so that you can then see what the result of your lettering will look like in your actual layout, the final map that you're going to produce. So to create your layout, you need to go to Project, New Print Layout. And I'm just going to call this Class Test Map Version 1. So what you want to do is in this, and again, this is a separate screen. It'll be saved with your project. So when you open your project up again, you'll see these print layouts. So what you want to do, and we're not going in depth in this today, but what you want to do to create your map that you just showed is you want to go ahead and just add the map to the screen. So you'll just drag this across, and then your map will show up. Now, one of the things that you could do now there's fancier ways to do it, but let's just say that I would like to just make like some sort of, instead of having a white background, I'm just going to make it like a blue, like a watercolor. You can just change the background to blue. So another tool that I find pretty useful is, and this is very different, you get used to it, but for those who have used Arc Pro, it's a little bit different. But there's this tool here that if you want to center this, you can actually move the map. If I want to center it inside that square, you can actually, so it's actually moving the geography. So notice that now, like part of Alaska wasn't all in there. So now I can ensure that I have all the islands there on the map. So the next thing that you could do is, we're missing Alaska, so we can create a very simple inset map. And we'll go into more depth on this as the semester goes on. You're going to find the kind of setting up these maps in this print layout. It can be frustrating at first. Practice sort of makes, I don't know if you'll ever get to perfection, but practice will make it easier. So what we can do here is go back to our original map. And what I'm going to do is take this scale with me. You'll probably forget to do this, but I'm going to keep this scale. I'm going to lock it on the other map. This way, this map, like my layout's ready to go, and I don't want, so I'm going to set the scale on the other project to be the same. So what I'm going to do is you don't always have to do this, but this is my way of making life easier. And then I lock it. And then, of course, you can zoom out, but it's not actually changing the scale. The scale is staying the same. Wait, let's see, I think I unlocked it. Yeah, so the scale, it stays locked at that. I think it's like 3,600,000 or so. So what I want to do then is I want to have Hawaii in another map, and it's going to be at the same scale basically. So what we can do is, you show Hawaii somewhere in the middle. You're just trying to get like a general reference point. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your print layout, and you're going to select another one of these add maps, and then you're going to make a square, like something like that. And then you can see it's actually created map 2. So what you could do is the item properties, we can call this like North America, and then we can call this Hawaii. So just like the other one, with now that you know, because now it's like a white background, what we can do is, I'm actually going to want to zoom a little bit more into that. So what I'm going to do is, I know I locked it in the previous one, but I'm going to, let's see here. So I think I got them backwards. Okay, not a problem. This is supposed to be Hawaii. And then this is North America. Okay. So I do want to zoom in a little bit. So the easiest way to zoom in would be to reduce these numbers here. So let's see what we can do. So if we take the scale, and we're going to use the scale in the print layout to kind of zoom in. So what we can do is maybe change this to like a 3. There we go, it's starting to zoom. So let me do a 2, and then what you can do is take that tool we used earlier, the move item content tool, and then slide this over into the middle. And then the other thing that you can do with Hawaii is just like we did previously with the background, is change the color to that same blue. And then I think it's important, because you don't want people to think that that's actually how it looks. So when you do an inset, you want to actually create a frame around it. Now this is an ugly frame, and there's ways to make it fancier, but for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it like that. All right, it's too ugly. I can't leave it like that. So let me just make it like a gray or something. It'll improve it a little. Maybe a little bit darker. All right, let's just go with that. I could spend a week on this, so I'm just going to leave it. You just want some way to show that it's not the same map, right? So then the other thing that we can do quickly here is, again, we're not looking for fanciness today because there's a lot of practice that needs to be done. We can add a scale bar, and what you would want to do is add a scale bar based on the Hawaii map. So you want to make sure Hawaii is highlighted. So make sure Hawaii is highlighted. And then you can stretch this out, and I usually start larger. Like, we don't want it, like, scale bars are not supposed to be that large. They're there to help, but not to be a distraction to your map. So if I make this in miles, and we're going to try to make this a little bit smaller. So one quick way to make it smaller is we could just reduce this double width to 1. And then I can change these units to maybe like 200 or something like that. And then we can use a very simple scale bar. Something like that. The other thing that I would want to do is we want to look for the settings here for, there's a place where you can change the font size because it's a little bit too big. We want something a little bit smaller here. Again, it's not supposed to be a prominent piece of the map. We can just move this over a little bit like that. So at least then they know that it's in reference to Hawaii there. And then to do the scale bar for North America, you need to make sure that you have North America highlighted. And then what you could do is get another scale bar here. And then you could do the same thing because we don't want it to be that large. So in that case, I just change the units. Then I'll go ahead and change the font. I don't remember what the other one was at, but you're supposed to generally have them be the same, but I don't remember. I'll just make that an 8 for now, but then we also have to change the scale bar so it basically looks the same. I do want to point something out quick. You want to be as organized as possible. Now, when you click on these, notice it changes which is the scale bar, the map it's based on. So it's based on the Hawaii map, right? So what you could do is you could label these. The more organized you are, the better things will be. And you can like label North American scale bar or something like that. Okay, so occasionally you want to make sure you hit the save project thing. So this will always be saved along with your project.